And so that raffle will be done on Saturday at the closing plenary. You need not be present to win, but you do have to have filled in or gotten stickers for all 7 of those slots. We've done this every year. It's our way of getting you to visit the vendors and win fabulous prizes. All right. So you all also got one of these, which is a USB drive thing, right? So I didn't want to say much about it other than to say that, yes, it's a USB drive in the shape of a book containing e-books of case law that mimic the National Reporter P-books. The irony is intentional. All right. Housekeeping. I'm done with housekeeping. Wait, I had a piece of paper as an overflow. In the meantime, are there any questions that anybody has at this point? Things that we didn't cover? On Saturday? No, you don't. But you do have to have filled in all 7 and put it in the box. Other questions? Good. Patricia wanted me to remind everybody that the circulation desk is a great point of finding information about all things Milwaukee, things to do. The tours all start at the circulation desk, all right, just to make sure. And the reception today will start right after the last session, 5 o'clock. So don't go back to your hotel or don't walk over to the hotel because, well, you can if you want. But I'm just saying you don't have to wait around. We'll be getting things going right away. All right, very good. So it's time to do an Ignite. And an Ignite is traditionally the speakers, 10 speakers, 5 minutes each, 20 slides, 15 seconds. But we've eased off on some of those restrictions. We have fewer than 10 speakers. We didn't care how many slides they used, and we're going to be a little bit mushy in the 5 minutes as well. So I'm going to let the speakers introduce themselves. We'll bring the first speaker up, Rich, because he's got to connect in here, and then we'll get started. Oh, my gosh, I forgot about the tweet panel. First of all, let me clean this up. How silly of me. So, we've also got, in order to deal with the transition between speakers, a panel of tweeters. Why don't you come on up and sit here? Thanks for reminding me. We got Sarah and Elizabeth. And what they're going to do is distract you in between each speaker, providing a single tweet that summarizes what we all just saw. All right? And I've got a tweet deck set up so that we can throw it up on the screen. Now, kids, be nice. This is not a license, Simon, to be mean. I am here, Jonathan. I'm so happy. All right, so Rich,
okay.
Whenever you want to start.
Okay. My name's Rich McHugh. I'm from the University of Victoria, and I'm going to talk about social media and education. But I do have a complaint to start with, unfortunately. As I was flying into Milwaukee, I looked out the window of the airplane, and I was very distressed to see this as we were approaching, which caused me a moment of panic. I looked at my boarding pass quickly just to make sure I had... But fortunately, it was just a joke that someone was playing. So as you fly out, you might want to look for that. Anyways, my wife and I have a busy home with 5 children and a dog, and this picture is an excellent metaphor for our life. When our youngest child, Jillian, went to school full-time in grade 1, my wife, Heather, entered nursing school. Now, it had been over 15 years since she'd been in school, and while many aspects of being at university were the same, some things had changed dramatically. The professors in her program were all quite good, except for one. Her first-year biology teacher was filling in for someone on maternity leave, and unfortunately, the substitute was a marine biologist who hadn't taught a first-year class in years, and he was marginally more helpful than a brick. So the students were pretty much on their own to learn the material in the class in preparation for the cross-section exams. So what did my wife and her classmates do? They transformed the tools that they'd been using for organizing parties and socializing into a collaborative learning platform. So her learning process for each class was as follows. First, she and her classmates would read the assigned chapter and understand, some but not all of the content. Next, they'd go to the lecture and listen to the professor read someone else's PowerPoint slides, leaving things about as clear as the textbook was. And then later that evening, she would go home, check her Facebook group, and see if anyone had found anything helpful to sort of clear up the things that they hadn't understood in class. Now, if no one had posted on topics that she was unsure of, she would start doing YouTube searches for key topics in her readings, and usually find one or more videos that were much more helpful than anything that the teacher or the textbook provided. For example, this explanation she found on mitosis on YouTube was much more helpful than anything provided by the teacher. So after finding a clear explanation, she'd go to her class's Facebook group and then post a link to the video to share with her classmates. And at the same time, she'd often find a couple of videos that classmates had posted to the group as well. Then finally, she'd watch all the videos and then make notes so that she could review them in preparation for the exams. So that's how the whole semester went. And I heard complaining. She and her classmates went to the dean. They went to the chair of the biology department. Unfortunately, they couldn't change the prof. So you might be wondering how the class did. Well, my wife, she did quite well. She got an A- in the class, and her section of the 5 sections did the best in the final exam, actually across all of the exams. So, what lessons can we learn from this? Should we just get rid of professors, since it appears that you can do well without an effective teacher? Well, one could argue that. But I think that in the absence of a good teacher, or the absence of a good teacher combined with high-quality learning resources on YouTube that were quickly and easily shared via groups on Facebook, equaled highly engaged students. So out of necessity, my wife and her classmates had to actively search out and learn the materials that they weren't being provided through their class and through the textbook. And then once they mastered the concepts themselves, they often had to explain it to classmates who were still struggling, either in person or sometimes via Facebook as well. And my wife mentioned that teaching those newly mastered concepts really helped cement those things in her mind much better than she would have just taking notes in class. So, having said that, my challenge to all of us who support people who teach and who teach in the classrooms is to look for more and more effective ways to engage students, using not only technology, but also engaging teaching techniques. Because now students have alternatives to textbooks and lectures. We can't forget that as law schools, we're not in the lecture business, we're not in the technology business, but we're in the teaching and learning business. And engaging students is the best way to help them learn. And that is the end of my rant. Thank you.
And we'll see if this crazy idea actually works. Okay. All right, where did my tweet deck go? Here, I need to clear you guys out. Say, there we go. Clear, 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 and so, what did the tweet panel say? Wait. It dropped off the network. No, it's connected. There we go. It's bringing back memories. It's bringing back memories, isn't it? What? This is the refresh? Yeah. Oh, I was looking for that. You know, when we tested this, didn't work that time either, by the way. All right, so there is a solution, right? It's S. Glassmeyer, right? Yes. Oh, it is the network. Okay. That would take too long. Oh no! Oh no!
They could have done it by pantomime by
now. The slingshot worked better than this. All right, so we're in. All right. So what do we do now? Very good. All right, our second speaker. Yeah, we should probably read them out loud, right? Very good. So Sarah has to say, like a sci-fi movie's gratuitous use of nuclear weapons, social media can solve seemingly insurmountable classroom problems. Self-directed, Elizabeth says, self-directed learning. For the win? I am so behind. For the win. I learned everything I know about law from Lionel Hutt's clips on YouTube. It's really good. And Tom has to say, never undergo a surgical procedure done by someone who learned fish anatomy from a bad teacher. Instead, consult Facebook. Okay, we're going to clear those out. That's right. That's right. And our next speaker, who is number 2? I
don't know how to log in there.
I think it's already logged in. Ryan, can you log us in? Oh.
You can use a series of hand signals.
Pressure's on.
To do it right the first. Yep. That's okay. You'll never look as bad as we are right now. Douse. All yours.
All right, technology's great. Welcome, I'm Jamie Butler. I'm the Director of IT at UC Davis School of Law. I was once told that the best way to start any presentation is with a quote because somebody else is way smarter than I am. So I'm going to start today with saying that nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm, which kind of segues really nicely into my talk about motivation. Today I want to talk about how we're faced with lots of financial struggles in law schools across the country, and we have problems motivating and keeping our employees happy and excited about coming to work every day. We've got problems like job security. Some people are retracting and losing jobs. We can't pay our employees what they're worth. We definitely can't give out bonuses and raises now that we used to be able to do. And even creating educational opportunities is difficult because we have financial problems. So I wanted to give a little bit of theory. In 1943, Abraham Maslow wrote a paper called A Theory of Human Motivation. And in it, he introduced this concept of a hierarchy of needs where in order to really reach self-actualization, happiness, you had to satisfy these base levels first. And so basic things like food, clothing, and water you have to have that before you can get happy. Safety, job security, friendship, family, self-esteem, and then finally creative problem solving and really using your brain and being excited about things. So as managers, we can extrinsically motivate our folks using things like rewards, such as money, which we don't have right now, but we could do it. Promotions and job opportunity, and even silly things like a new office or a brand new desk, or really intangible things, but that really do make people happy. Or we can punish them by firing them. Or what I think is the better way to go is to intrinsically motivate somebody, make them really themselves be the one that are motivated to come to work and to work hard and do things and go above and beyond the call of duty. So things like creating a challenge, giving your employees something that they want to work for, they want to solve some kind of problem, really gets them excited about working. Curiosity, trying to identify new things, learning, working towards something that hasn't been done before. Having some control or ownership over a process. So if they own that, it's theirs, they can make the change, they're more apt to really want to work hard. And finally, recognition. So if someone, and it doesn't have to be in the form of a raise or a promotion, but even something simple like Employee of the Month. People really like having that recognition among their peers. So we want to create intrinsic motivation in our employees, but how do we do that? I would argue the best way to do it is with a barbecue. A couple of months ago, we started doing barbecues at the office, and it caught on like wildfire. So a number of professors said, hey, we should have a barbecue throwdown. So the clinics challenged the IT department to a barbecue. And it was kind of haphazard. We threw things together. We made some food. But it was a huge hit. I brought different departments from the school together. People were excited about it. They worked towards a goal. So I'm going to talk about how that satisfies all these different concepts of motivation. So it creates a challenge. The clinic said to us, we can beat you at making barbecue. My staff did not like that. They rose to the challenge like you wouldn't believe. They were working night and day, building smokers, trying out new recipes. They were really, really up to the task. Curiosity. How can we make the best recipe for barbecue sauce? I mean, this is something that you can't inspire people at work to do. It's just crazy. Recognition. In front of the entire law school, now my staff could stand up and say, we beat you. That's powerful stuff. And control. They got to control the way the food was created, how the barbecue went down. We made the rules ourselves. So back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Obviously, barbecue satisfies that base level of needs. We're providing food and water to the masses. And it's a nice social networking event. Not social networking, but networking socially. People get to hang out and spend time with each other outside of the traditional work environment and get to interact as friends opposed to just coworkers. Obviously, there's an esteem element here. We've got people being recognized for the hard work they're doing and saying, hey, that was a great set of ribs you made. How did you make that recipe? We really liked it. And finally, people were, our staff was able to solve this problem on their own and come up with the answer. So we have some pictures of my staff building smokers. We're talking about 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, getting these things ready. It's amazing. And then we've got, want to make everybody hungry. We're a break coming up. And then just all of our, there was about 50 people RSVP'd to the event, and I think about 150 showed up. I think students were calling their friends, and their friends' parents showed up. It was insane. But we had a lot of people hanging out and having a great time, and not only working hard, but engaging socially too. And that's us getting ready. So I'll end with a quote too, that energy and persistence conquer all things. Thanks.
You can send. Who's the network again? Oh, yeah. Well, no, I'm just testing to get the network. All right. Hit refresh. Should have done this with index cards. All right, so it's Twitter taking a few moments to to update. So Sarah Glassmeyer says, fun to have new boss in the same room as management talk. Oh, will John Mayer bring grills in for a barbecue throwdown at CALI org? No comment. Elizabeth, we're still waiting for a refresh on yours. The beatings will continue until morale improves, but barbecue. Next time, rude vegan twister. Elizabeth, do you want to just read yours?
I'm just saying, coming from the South, I mean, you cannot underestimate the power of
Very good. All right, so we're going to go to a new system. You guys are just going to read your tweets. All right. And back to the lectern. And our next speaker, Brian. So we'll just leave that off to the side.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Brian Huddleston. I'm the Senior Reference Librarian at Loyola University New Orleans College of Law. The last couple of years, we've seen a number of books that are critical and skeptical of our always-on, always-connected information technology-focused culture. Some of these authors have even suggested that technology, the internet, may be changing the way our brains work and not in a good way. Other people respond to this by saying, well, no, our primitive ancestors way back in mankind's history, they had to be constantly alert to any possible threat around them. So over tens of thousands of years, our brains have been developed to constantly be aware of different points of stimulation and different things in our environment. So maybe then the evolution of the internet is just the next step in mankind's evolution. So yeah, our brains are completely well suited to this deluge of information resources around us today. So there's a good argument in that favor. Well, if that's true, then what else has evolution prepared us for? Well, also over tens of thousands of years, our appetites and our taste buds have developed to crave fatty, high-calorie food as a survival mechanism. So how is that working out for us? Well, roughly a third of all American adults are obese. The question then is, are we going to be seeing an epidemic of information obesity soon? Are we starting to see that now? Now, the concept of internet addiction is debatable, but there are some biochemical, brain chemical processes that are at work that recent research has indicated is very important to how we deal with information today. Again, those primitive ancestors way back when they were on the hunt, when they were out looking for something, searching, seeking for something, their brains would release dopamine into the bloodstream. Dopamine is very similar to adrenaline. It keeps you on edge, keeps you alert, keeps you aware of everything around you. And then when they found what they were looking for, that concrete object, what they found, whether it was a meal, a mate, or whatever, that would satisfy that seeking, hunting behavior, and the brain would then release endorphins. Those endorphins would give them a nice feeling of contentment and satisfaction. It would take the edge off of the dopamine, calm them down, relax them, and they'd feel satisfied for at least a short period. Well, we still engage in this seeking, hunting behavior even when we're online and using all our electronic resources and gadgets. Dopamine is still flooding around in our brains on our neurochemicals, and it's that dopamine that's responsible for that slight buzz or rush we're getting when we're online, doing Google searches, going through Westlaw results, checking our email, rocking and rolling, switching back and forth between different applications, really going to town online. But because the objects and the targets of these online hunts are virtual, there's no thing there to trigger that endorphin-fueled feeling of satisfaction and contentment. So we've been searching a while, and that dopamine starts to wear off, but we want to keep it up, so we search for something else. I forgot I need to look this up, or I haven't checked Facebook in 45 minutes or so. And so we start this cycle of continuous seeking behavior to try to keep that dopamine up. And then the more we do this, the more our brains get used to it and becomes ingrained in our neural netways, and the more we want to be online searching for stuff. And then eventually, we go to sleep with our BlackBerries on our bedside table, check them first thing in the morning, or we start to get nervous or twitchy during the day if we haven't checked email or Facebook or a Twitter stream for a while. So yeah, there's an argument that evolution may have prepared us for this information-rich, technology-rich society today. But again, like with food, we are no longer cavemen. And when our ancestors were staying alert to all the threats around them in the wild, they were not also trying to read 80 pages of constitutional law for their next class. The ability to skim and browse multiple resources and stay on top of different streams of information may be very useful for some tasks and some situations, but these are not the skills that our students need to use when they are learning the law. Learning the law requires long periods of intense, focused concentration on the written word, and students cannot do this when they have their laptops open next to their casebooks. When you look up from a book to a computer screen, your brain involuntarily makes several split-second decisions. Should I read that? Should I click on that? Is that important? Should I respond to that? And in just that split second, your brain has interrupted the deep reading processes that are required to take what you've just read from your short-term working memory and convert it to your long-term retentive memory, where comprehension of the subject is formed. Now, all these technologies, all these social media can be very useful for communicating with our students and working with them in interesting, creative ways. And Rich has pointed some of those ways with what his wife was doing with her nursing class. But we need to teach our students to use all these resources deliberately and in a focused fashion at the appropriate times. We should teach them to use these tools. Don't let these tools use you. Don't let them interfere with the time that you need to have focused attention. Focus attention on important tasks at hand when you need all your attention corralled for reading your homework. So, the best advice, I think, for students and for us for developing a healthy information technology diet is the same for developing a healthy food diet. All things in moderation, know when to say when, and push away from the digital buffet, at least when you're reading your casebooks. Thank you.
So we're not going to try to do this on the screen.
Well, I don't know what the heck he's talking about, because I am completely capable of focusing on squirrel.
What?
Yeah, this is kind of embarrassing. I was playing around on Facebook. I missed the point of his talk.
Our next speaker.
For sentimental reasons. This was my original presentation, and then I got up here, and my smoke machine wasn't working yesterday when I did the dry run. So I've gone with a more standard presentation. I'm making order in the world in 5 minutes. So did you know that they have menus now for children and senior citizens, because apparently we can't discern food, whether it's based for a child. And they also picture child's meals like things they might eat, like a small bear, to aid them. We've divided menus into gluten-free. And if you need a gluten-free menu, it's not enough that the page says gluten-free. It must also say, well, do you want an appetizer or light fare? We're making too much order in the world. We use agendas, we use calendars. July is open for me, by the way, except for Boston. We organize our music in playlists, Do not ever listen to Katie Lane for more than 1 hour. You'll become so melancholic in your windowless office that you will consider paper cutting yourself to death. We order things by color, shape, size, number. We order things as a map. This was an old one, obviously. This is a new one. Where is my olive bar? So that's the world making order. How does CALI make order? Well, we've got lessons, Classcaster, LibTours, Laudables, eLangdell casebooks, media notes, and lessons. So you can find lessons a lot of ways. You can find lessons by authors. You can find lessons by courses. You can find lessons by casebook. And then within a subject area of all contracts, a specific casebook. You can find all the lessons related to a specific casebook because we're trying to make order of an unordered universe. You can find things by course outline, which is not a casebook. A course outline divides the world into topics, subtopics, and points. It's an uber syllabus, if you will. So I take legal research. I divide it into secondary sources. Are you ready? You are the left side of the room. You are the right side. Are you ready? Thank you. In unison now.
What's the blue title?
Thank you. I've copywritten that play and distributed it. It's being done in high schools throughout the country. So how do I organize the world of CALI and authors? Because really when it comes down to it, it's about the order I live with. So I've created a timeline for myself, and time starts when I joined CALI. I understand that CALI existed before I was here, obviously, and there were a lot of lessons. But since I've arrived, I order my authors into how did I meet them? Did I meet them through a fellowship, through the Legal Research Community Authoring Project Advisory Panel, which is an all-assist committee? Did I meet them randomly, which means they just contact me or meet me at AALS or AALL and say I'd like to write a lesson on something? Or are they part of one of my authoring pods, which is not really something to fear. It's 2 or 3 very friendly people who retain their identity throughout the process, never becoming vegetable-like or gaining any sort of pod-like qualities. So this is how I order people that I know. Sometimes I order people based on whether I know them through social networking, whether I know them through Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. And then I order my authors through how they wrote lessons. So did I meet the authors through the fellowship, through a pod, through an author? Do I think of them by their subject area first, and then the other people that they worked with? Because it's all about making connections. When I think of my legal research authors, I think of them based geographically on the country. And when you move, you hurt my brain. Because I now think of you based on a lesson where you don't live anymore. All these colors actually are a little out of date. We've got more lessons. And some of these lessons, you've written lessons that are geographic neutral, which has really been pretty nifty. Then I think of people from photos that I actually post up in my really cool office with no windows. I mean, if I could ever get a skylight dawn, I would be really giddy. Thank you. I recognize my office is on the 5th floor, and it's a 10-story building. So I've been working with building maintenance for a few years to work that out. So I think of Joe Groman, Wilson Frymouth, and Jim Smith as my property fellows. And I think of this as the torts team, Doug and Larry and Martin and Ron. But the reality is I also think of you as to where you live and when I want to visit you. So I only visit or plan to visit Doug and Larry in the summer months. And then Ron Eads, who's now down in Charleston, and Martin, of course, I want to visit them in the winter months. So keep this in mind, if you would, to help me out when you have an authoring crisis. If you could have it on a seasonal basis, I would be very appreciative. So I'm announcing my author-to-author trip across the United States with my dog. And yes, I do dress him up in jaunty clothing. Because if he's going to run errands with me for 3 hours in the stores, I'm going to dress him up. So Keep in mind that I'm looking for seasonally based authors. If you're writing also on a topic where we don't have any coverage, that would be a perk for CALI, and I see a lot of board members, so let me make this responsible. We're looking for lessons in all areas, regardless of where you're geographically located. And it's okay if I don't have a refrigerator magnet from that state yet. I'm willing to go there. So this is my official legal notice of intent to visit. I'm a really easy guest at your law school. I'll come with my sleeping bag and stay in an IT office underneath the floor. I don't wiggle at all when I sleep, so my chance of kicking out a cable is really slim. I subsist mainly on a diet of peanut butter, bagels, and granola cereal with the occasional yogurt thrown in. I'm easy to feed. I'll get myself from the airport to your school using a random mode of transportation involving buses, asking friends for rides, or walking if possible. So here's my preferred seasonal travel schedule. If you live in the red area, I'm really happy to see you in fall, winter, early spring. I'd prefer to avoid hurricane season, although I'm really good at plotting out evacuation routes. And I can carry a large Tupperware of personal papers for a long distance. I'm also excellent at car songs, or being quiet if you prefer. So an evacuation is where I really excel. Any rule has exceptions. We have absolutely nothing in this part of the country, that whole North, South Dakota, Montana, Idaho thing. So I'm willing to visit you any time of the year. I don't ski, so I'm not looking for a boondoggle trip here. Anytime. I'm particularly interested in visiting the Northeast during the fall colors. I will work with you to create lessons in that area at any time. Hawaii, enough said. So I'm opening this up to you. We need, this is my gratuitous cute dog cat photo on my sleeping bag, because I come prepared. I will leave my pets at home, actually, but I will come to your school and work with you, or an authoring pod. And an authoring pod is 2 or 3 faculty members. You don't have to be from the same school. We've had pods that cross the borders. That crossed rival school lines. And I will come and work with you, train you in CALI Author, work with you on how to create lessons that can be used later in the CALI library. We have 850 lessons, and my goal is to hit 1,000 lessons before I set a new goal. Because that seems reasonable. We're going to hit 120 legal research lessons, which seems like an extraordinary amount by AALL. Woo! And we couldn't have done that without the help of the ALSYS Legal Research Community Authoring Project Advisory Panel. So I'm really grateful to ALSYS for sharing their folks with us. We have gaps all over the place. So if you've been teaching, or you have faculty who are teaching and keep walking up to you saying, well, does CALI have a lesson in animal rights law? Yes, we do. Do we have enough lessons in constitutional law? No. Do we have enough lessons in administrative law? No. We have gaps all over the place. We are, and I'm from Wisconsin also, so I can say this, our coverage is like Swiss cheese. It's great melted, but it has a lot of gaps if you're just looking at it. So please go back to your schools and consider, when is the best season for me to visit you? Because I've got SPF and I've got a parka and I'm ready to travel. Thank you.
Next speaker, come set up.
Well, I'm thinking that Sarah's new gig at CALI will be engineering the pods to grow new lesson writers.
I'm Deb Quintel, and I approve this message.
As a Deb across America, let's make this happen. And if you need a roadie, I'm down with that.
Okay, I'm Dan Manier from the University of Notre Dame, and I'm at my 13th CALI conference this year. I love these conferences. They're a great opportunity to see new facilities, renovated facilities, and I just want to thank everyone for CALI for these conferences and everyone who helps with the presentations to make them great, so thank you. I have a couple of my staff that are here for their first CALI conference, so Scott and Eric are here. So what I'd like to do is just kind of quickly give you an idea of what's been most on our minds the last few years. We've opened a new facility a new building and renovated our old building. I just want to give you an idea of some of what we had and now what we have. We're very grateful for it. On the right is our new building. It has most of our classrooms and faculty offices, and there's a connecting building to our old building, and the renovated building is mostly library space. This is our old courtroom. You can see it's very tight. Students cannot use laptops in that space, and the teaching space in there was not very good. We couldn't integrate technology into the space really at all. Our new courtroom is a 2-story facility, great viewing angles, and we've been able to incorporate technology, all the latest courtroom technology. Tremendous space. This is our old student lounge. It was down in the basement of the old building. A very dark space, very crowded. Now the students have space up on the second floor in the connecting building, great natural light. And on a few Saturdays during the fall, marching band marches underneath the space. The students love it. It's a great location for them. Our old classrooms, again, very tight spaces, very poor access to power. Technology was just cobbled together. New space, again, very nice for the students, access to power, and the technology is the latest. And again, students and faculty love the space. In the old building that we just opened this past fall, we have 2 50-seat conference rooms with the latest video conference technology, push-to-talk, and again, these are good spaces. They're not being used very much just yet, but they're again, very good space. Our old computer lab, very high density of computers. This probably looks familiar to a lot of people. We've really scaled down and lightened it up, so we've got kind of an information commons area where students can either use our computers, bring their own laptops, or go get together for a small group collaboration or training. Our old reading room was really being, taken over by faculty offices and just all sorts of storage. It had gotten very dark. It was not a good place for students to go. The renovated reading room is wide open, and again, students love using this facility. Carrels were, just put wherever we could find space, no access to power, poor lighting.